What's up, guys? Welcome back. We got another episode of Work Radio coming at you. Kind of like a special bonus edition today. By the way, we are live at CrossFit Westchase. You can hear the 8:45 class rolling in the background right now. I got my man Devin O'Neill here. He was on our team this past year, and we're gonna basically do a quick semifinals breakdown and kind of some thoughts on not just that, but the overall rules and kind of how the season's flowing now. And some things we agree with and some things we 100% do not agree with that CrossFit Games has done. And also offer some solutions too, not just whine about it. So, all right, anyways, Devin, thanks for joining us this morning.
Of course.
As you guys can see, the theme of kind of like of us this year, and actually as on one of our shirts, it says, real team, same dream, because in my opinion, like we all go to the same gym, right? We all go to CrossFit Westchase. Devin is a financial advisor now, so he's on his way to work, looking all crispy. I'm just going to be at the gym for a little bit today. But all right, anyways, let's get into it. Where do you want to start, Devin?
We can just, I guess, start at the top. I mean, if we're going to go back and kind of talk about how the season's led to where it is, going through, don't really need to touch base on the open or quarterfinals, but when we got to the semifinals,
I guess it would be kind of so people understand too. So Devin was on a games team last year at CrossFit Milford.
Yeah, I was up in Massachusetts. I was on the Connecticut team, CrossFit Milford, while I was living in Connecticut at the time. And then I moved down here in around December. And
that was 100% organic.
Yeah, no, I did not move here for CrossFit.
You walked in the gym one day, I remember, and I saw you in the lobby, and I was like, where did I know that guy from? And I thought it was from Beach Brawl. But as I got closer, I was like, oh no, it's like we warmed up together last year at the games. So anyways, Westchase has had a team the last 2 years at the games. Devin was on a games team last year, and when he got here, he pretty quickly hurt your back, right?
Yeah, it's always been hurt. It's just more of a flare up. But
yeah, and so between that and I've been hyper focused on some other stuff. I just do the classes for an hour a day. I don't do anything special. I don't dedicate like competitive fitness is like number 9 on my list of priorities over the last couple years. And so we kind of were just like, yeah, I mean, well, it'd be cool if like we made a team. Like maybe it's there, maybe it's not. Our girls, Kim and Tammy, had a goal to go individual to semifinals. So I think you and I were just kind of like, oh, we'll just see what happens. But we kind of like had checked out for most of the open.
Yeah, I didn't honestly think it was going to happen.
Yeah. And then whatever way you want to look at it, unfortunately for the girls, fortunately for the gym, however, which way you want to spend that, both of them barely missed it qualifying. So we... and there was actually 3 girls. There was Lily too, and we weren't kind of sure who was going to make it, who wasn't going to make it. Series of events kind of led it to being Tammy and Kim, and so basically right before quarterfinals, we're like, all right, I think we have like a games caliber team here. I know the rules are different this year, which we're going to get into. It's a lot more stacked competitively, but we still like, well, let's throw our hat in the ring and see what happens. And so we started training together as a team. And we all kind of had that experience to draw on anyways. All 4 of us already being at that level and competing at under that kind of stress and stuff and that communication. So it was a pretty seamless, like I remember our first day on the worm, I was like, wow, that felt great. Like we did worm clean and jerks, and it was like we picked up, I hadn't touched a worm since last August, and it felt fine. So anyways, kind of leads us into, we get through quarterfinals. We were actually ranked 12th. We ranked 12th after quarterfinals. We got hit with a major penalty.
I got hit with a major penalty,
which happens in your own gym. You don't have judges and stuff. It's not the same. So CrossFit does the best they can, but they assess penalties as needed. And we fell back to 17th. So we were still in that 3rd heat out of those 40 teams that moved on. But we were still ranked at that time outside the top 10. So anyways, all right. We get to Orlando.
First workout, I felt was a pretty decent one for us. I know I'm a pretty big engine person, and you've always had a pretty decent engine as well, and it's running. Both girls great at running. There's a little bit of sandbag, some worm stuff, and jump rope kind of mixed in. So it felt like something that we could at least have a strong start to. We finished 8th, outside of like some just blow-ups on collective backs.
So that first event. So first off, the North American East semifinal was the only one that didn't know the flow of the layouts and have all the exact standards.
Yeah, and we found out day of.
It literally said on the thing, once the workouts got released on the game site, hey, standards will be briefed on site. And also a little thing that said, print your scorecard out here. I'm like, dude, did you just copy and paste that from the opener semifinals?
Everything that they posted looks like their media team has no idea what they're doing, unfortunately.
I think a lot of them just got laid off, so maybe that makes sense. But, so anyways, we're the only regional that didn't actually know the flow. We didn't have all the standards down exactly. All the other regionals got to watch it on the live stream. They're like, oh, that's how you should practice that workout, or that's how you should do it. So if you are comparing, which you are going to get into, but if you are comparing like all the teams on a worldwide basis, the first regional had a distinct disadvantage not knowing how to train all those workouts. Granted, some of them, muscle ups and thrusters, like we know how to go through the flow, but some other stuff like that sandbag hold, which was such a subjective thing across every regional. It's just like, why do you put stuff in there that remains so subjective when you can
and
do other things? You can make it a carry where it's like figure out how to get it across somewhere, but like just standing there and holding. So that's like what happened in event 1. We finished 8th. We had the opportunity and we could have finished like 4th or 5th, but my back blew up on the bag and she's like, you're leaning too far back. So I'd correct it, come forward. She's like, now it's on your legs. So I go back, now you're too far back. And it was like the whole time while Kim's doing double unders, she's just like back and forth. She's just trying to do her job. The judges are just volunteers, but I think the games could do such a better job of eliminating subjective movements.
And I mean, that happens in workout 3, which we'll get to when it comes to the pistols. And the lack of briefing that happens from confirming with the head judges before we go out, like, hey, is this our standard? And they're like, this is your standard. We've confirmed it. I'm like, have you talked to the other judges and other people? Because no offense, I doubt that we're all on the same page. They're like, I assure you it's the same page. And then we go to the group afterwards, and they're like, so totally different standard. We want to make sure to brief you guys. And you're like, this is ridiculous. It goes to show the lack of professionalism behind how things are versus how things could be. And I mean, to not completely sidetrack it, like the things that like Hiller and those guys have done before, where they held a competition and just showed how arguably easy it is to just do things right and in a consistent basis, goes to show that it's possible. But
and like I get it. Like I don't want this to just be like a bash CrossFit Games video, because it's not. It's like a recap and some other stuff, but I think there's some things you can do. I don't know.
There's problems, and we're trying to figure out solutions.
And also, it's two different entities. Like CrossFit itself, like our affiliates, and then CrossFit Games are two different entities. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the Games is not profitable. There's probably a lot of people out there, like the casual fan that watches it, like, oh, they're making a ton of money. But like, I don't think they are. And so they don't have all these resources and stuff dedicated to it. I mean, just like the live stream, they cut the live streams. Like, I've been at regionals since 2013, and I can go back to, I think, 2014 and watch like every heat way back when. And watch those old workouts if I wanted to. But like now in 2023, like you can, because some of the stuff just wasn't filmed. So honestly, I think it's like an economics and a money thing. And I think they don't have this big of a team. They can't do stuff when they want to move it at the speed they want to do it. So then you wind up with stuff like this, where like stuff's coming in like day of, like, oh, well, this is how that one's going to be.
When you cut your own knees out going to be from under yourself, 4 years ago, it's hard to
So those guys that are trying their best, like they're probably working with what they have, but they're probably handcuffed. To a degree. So, all right, event 1 took 8th place,
which was still good either way, because our objective was like, as long as you qualify, if you get 10th in every workout, you're gonna qualify.
Right.
And that's kind of where we were hoping. We get 8th, we're like, all right, we got 2 spots ahead.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a buffer heading into the second workout, which again went relatively well.
So the second workout, we also got 8th.
Yeah.
So we finished day 1 to 8th places, which ultimately led us to 6th place at the end of day 1. We're sitting in 6th place, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that one was thrusters and muscle ups. So honestly, like, I think like looking at it, like some of those top teams, like seeing where and when they broke was led me
or
to
not like AB. They just held it unbroken.
Yeah, some of those gymnastic teams are so good, and they're just gonna crush that.
Yeah.
But like looking at, like, I feel like I had a lot of pressure on me to do those 13 ring muscle ups unbroken at the end, and I could not do that. And I should have just taken like a calculated break and then jumped back on it.
I mean, it's like how we did in practice. It's always going to be different in practice versus game, and the height and intensity.
Right.
Like same thing with Kim and I. We kind of fell apart in the final round where we just had 4 reps left, and we were originally flip-flopped in practice, and in game she was like, I can't right now. I was like, all right, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
I get through 2, we flip-flop, she fails, I fail, and it's just one of those where that's ideally where you want to be, but just on the other side, where that failure point, you just get to it and you just happen to get by without actually going too far over. And
because then you can get to the thrusters and you can grind through thrusters. You're not going to fail thruster if you don't want to. You will fail muscle.
I definitely wanted to. That was probably one of my more proud moments.
So
25 on that.
So the difference, so like we also, if you kind of look at it, like we have like one gymnastics specialist on the team, and Tammy.
Yeah.
I feel like Kim and I are pretty well rounded. Like we're super well rounded. Like we can kind of do everything pretty well and not like be terrible at anything. You know what I mean? And you obviously have your strengths too. But when Dylan chose to set out this year to be in medic school, we lost like that gymnastics side on the team, which then ultimately kind of fell to me by default. And not being a gymnastics specialist,
that's not your role,
right? That definitely didn't. That kind of hurt us a little bit in that workout.
Yeah.
Which is fine though, because we still got an 8th, and like going into that workout, even though we're in the land of super teams again, we're still like, hey, if we can just stay in the top 10 and everything, like we can make it through. You know what I mean? All right, so we finished day 1 in 6th place, and then day 2
was that start with the bench one? Was that the
that was the relay one. The running.
This was the whole issue with standards that you watch it on the individual side. They didn't enforce it. Judge to judge for the pistols, judge to judge, it was different standards. And then you watched the other semifinals throughout, and they were different there as well. The issue with the standard was that you couldn't bring your foot back. And we had a judge that, it was the 3rd workout, we had an issue with her, and 2 teams prior in workouts 1 and 2 that had her also had judging issues because it seemed that the standard she was holding was higher.
So the standard, what? Your heel couldn't come behind your other foot while you're doing the pistol?
Yeah, your foot couldn't come behind you to assist in the standing motion.
Which doesn't really help you.
Doesn't, but the nature of it's offsetting, like a squat. Your butt offsets your chest as you go down, and then vice versa as it comes up. Your heel tucking under your thigh to assist in the stand so that you have balance. She was calling that a no rep because she was considering that to be coming behind.
Even once you're all the way up, if like your heel floated back and had nothing
then it was
to do
called a
with
no rep.
I think that the way you fix that is like, hey, your non-working foot just can't touch any other part of your body, but just do a pistol. Just get it done. Like, why add that stress to you? Like, why, like, oh, we're making this rule gray. We're going to get it with a ton of appeals from teams.
But then also it has to be unbroken. But if you don't keep it unbroken, it's okay. Just one of them doesn't count. So it's not unbroken.
Yeah. So the way that was worded too, I mean, again, that goes back to like the disadvantage that first regional or first semifinal had.
Yeah. It's like, I understand trying to have a standard that you think will be beneficial in conformity. But there's also that fine line of now you're just making too many rules versus just saying, just do a pistol. Like, if that assists you, cool. Then everyone will do it.
Well, like, so moving the same workout, we had handstand pirouettes, and in the description when it came out, I was just like, hey, you have to do 3 handstand pirouettes or whatever, which is fine. When we got there was a box. And they had an arrow in the box. Everyone was freaking out because they thought you had to turn a certain way, but you didn't. You could turn whatever way you wanted to turn. And your feet could be however your feet wanted to be. They could touch, they could not touch, they could be bent, they could be straight, your hands could be this way, that way, your head could do whatever. Like, it was like, just do a circle in the box and move on. So, and there probably was 0 appeals in that movement.
Yeah, you either got it done or you didn't.
They made that movement easier. So, like, why not refer back to that? Or things like that, be like, oh man, like, we screwed this pistol thing up. Like, maybe we should have just been like, hey, do this pistol in the box and don't let your non-working foot touch anything. Boom, problem solved. You know what I mean? To add these little things, I just don't understand why they add the stress to themselves, and then they face this criticism afterwards, and when it just doesn't end up being as fair of a competition because you have a subjective standard and subjective judging.
And then even when it comes to the briefing, we spend an extra hour in the briefing because people are like, question. It's just like...
And I'm not even whining about that. Like, look, I think I got like 2 no reps out of 30 pistols. Like,
I think we got 8 total.
Okay, like, so 8, let's just say each one's 2 seconds. Like, we lost 16 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, we still didn't do what we needed to do because we still got 15th in that workout. You know what I mean? Like, So yeah, with 16 seconds of help, potentially finish because we were 1 rep away
It
from
was 2
finishing.
spots we could have finished if I
Yeah.
had basically done so. But
Yeah. So it just kind of is what it is. It's just kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
why don't you
they
this
need
could
to
a
be
little
better
different.
as a whole for that
Yeah.
workout. And then same thing for the fourth workout. You know, we got, what, 16th in that one?
Yeah, we got 16th in the fourth workout, which was the back and forth on the row ski dumbbell box thing.
And that was just a matter of, again,
I can't believe how fast those other teams went. They just like were just dumbbell, but like I'm like, I feel like I don't move slow, but like if I touch a dumbbell to the ground and then come and press it up, like, but I'm like, how are you already on your way back down when I'm still on the way up? That was such a range of motion and speed workout.
Yeah.
In the end, though, like I don't think us taking 16th, having 3 taller athletes on the team, was
it wasn't bad. It was,
terrible thing.
I think our approach was more, we thought, I don't know if we could have went harder on the machines, but that was a clear disadvantage, was that we were taking 30 seconds to everyone's 20 seconds on the machine because people are hammering it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, since you're going so hard and your heart rate's so high on the other movements, that's your only respite. But
Yeah. I mean, in the end, those teams were fit.
yeah,
They just went fast.
very fast.
You know what I mean?
And again, with the box jump thing, I think they were trying to do the best that they could, and there was that fine line that everyone was between about there can't be 3 feet on the box at any one time.
And
You're
every
trying to time that
retail
out.
had like different people doing different stuff with that. All right, so there's one box, and what they said, the last thing they told us when you went out was they can't be more than 3 feet on the box anytime. So basically, if I'm standing on the box, I have to be on my way off the box and off the box before Kim lands on it, and then we're fine.
Yeah.
Why not? So it's essentially it's alternating box jumps really fast.
Yeah.
Why not just make it synchro box jumps, and you both have to get on the box and stand, and then as soon as the second person opens the hips, it's good. Wouldn't that have solved that problem?
No. And then you could have increased the volume to really add to the test too, instead of it being
Just make it synchro. Both athletes have to open their hips. They're staring at each other. They can see each other. Like, why not just do something like that to to fix that problem, or come up with a solution there? Like, so I don't know. I don't know what happens when they test these workouts and they go over the stuff, and I genuinely don't. But it seems to me like you can put a lot of the movements you want to put in there. Like going back to the first workout, like you had the sandbag hold. Why not just make it a sandbag carry? You know what I mean? Carry it down and back across that floor over and over while you're waiting for them, like whatever. You know, like that would have solved the problem. Because it's hard to carry it when it's so. I think the individuals carried it, and they didn't. It doesn't matter. It was just like, hey, hold it here. Like imagine if they changed that individual workout, which was on Sunday, to a hold instead of a carry.
Yeah.
It would have been so subjective to the judging, but it didn't have that problem. It's just like they're like, you just can't have it on your shoulder, I believe. Have it somewhere here in this frontal plane and go.
It's like they were trying to have it be a time domain where it's like, well, you can only dub as long as they do that. It's like, well, it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be making progress on that, or
It's
you have
like
to do 250
getting a little
feet.
too cute, and then now it's not just about fitness and capacity. It's also about the luck of the draw, what judge you get. All right, so far we went 8th, 8th, 15th, 16th. So not a great day 2.
We were
falling.
10th, starting day 2, I think, or like 12th or something. No, 13th.
Do you remember?
Somewhere around there. I don't know.
Either way, we were still in contention there. All right, so then we open up Sunday morning, which was the strength event, cleans.
And it went
We got
mostly as good as we
got a 10th in that. I think it went pretty good. We did what we can do. That kind of workout, that's just about like your capacity. I wonder why they had the girls slightly more of a percentage than it normally is, right?
Yeah.
Like normally when we're at 275, the girls are at 185, and when we're at 295,
315 is 225.
right? But they had their bar at 235 at the end, so it was just like a little bit heavier for the girls. So there was quite a few girls that didn't get any reps at that last bar, or at that second bar too, where it seemed like a lot. Most of the guys could they could at least get like a couple reps, even if they weren't touching going or whatever. And there are some teams that went nuts on that.
Yeah.
But still, I think we did what we needed to do. We hoped for a little higher finish there, but still, we took a top 10 in that workout, and then
It put us in a place of contention where if we performed on the final workout, we could have qualified. But that was with how fast people were going, that was a very tough workout.
Overall, we went into the 6th workout on Sunday.
I think we're
11th place. Top 10 teams advance. So we're sitting 11th. I think we were like 15 points, something like that, out of 10th place. And so before we went, I told everyone like, hey, like we can't control what these other teams do. I don't know their capacity. This is first, it's like a gymnastics workout. It's like who can stand broken in the handstand push-ups, who like basically is what it was to me, and keep moving fast on the other stuff. I was like, I don't know the capacity of these other teams. I was like, let's just go do what we can do. We'll try to sneak into that 10th. We'll try and jump a team or two. But if we don't, I was like, let's just stay in 11th. Because you never know. Like last year, we got in a late fight after.
I'm very surprised I haven't seen a team has failed or anything has came out.
I think it's too soon. Yeah,
it's too soon. Yeah. Out of 20, I'd be very surprised if there weren't at least 3.
So, anyways, yeah, I was like, let's just stay here and we'll see what happens. Maybe somebody pops, and then, which I'm gonna talk about that too. And then, who knows? Well, you know what I mean. Anyways, we'll go into it, and we have our worst event of the weekend. We basically blow up, and we finished 23rd in that event, which ultimately dropped us to 13th place overall.
And I think, what was that, 24 points out?
Yeah, we're only 24 points out, even with the 23rd.
Yeah, 24 points out from being tied with 10th and 11th.
Which was your team from last year, Milford. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's crazy, 10th and 11th tied.
Which, I mean, goes to show the point of being like how strong the field was in the Northeast, of just, if we're having 38 teams go, why not allocate 2 more to the strongest? I know the teams change every year, so it's hard to say, but you can reseed right after the Open.
Well, that's another thing too. CrossFit made a big deal about how they were going to do a strength of field thing for all the individuals, right? Because there was 12 men that qualified out of our regional, right? Mm-hmm. And only 9 out of the North America West, because they looked at the data coming out of quarterfinals or whatever, and like, oh, there's more legit athletes that live on this side of the country, so we should allocate more spots, which makes sense. Why didn't they do anything like that for team? I mean, that's like a 10-minute thing to look at where everyone lives based on that data and how you did, and be like, okay, clearly some divisions are more stacked than others, or some semifinals. So I just understand like why you do it for individuals, but you don't do it for teams, because essentially teams then become the only division that isn't strength of field based. Because if you're a masters or age group, it doesn't matter where you live.
Age group,
it's worldwide ranking.
Yeah, my athlete, he got 13th overall, and that was against everyone in the world. So he just did it. Awesome job, but it
doesn't matter where he lives.
No.
Yeah, where it does matter where your affiliate is. You know what I mean? So I just don't know why they did.
But at the same time, it doesn't matter where you are if you go to the affiliate now this past year because of the rules. As long as you showed up for the 3 workouts, which I understand was to offset all the hassle of the rules that they had last year of trying to prove who was at what affiliate, and they took the hands-off approach that they should have done with some of the event standards.
Yeah.
But to the entirety of the...
So basically, so I hadn't competed since 2018. And then you had like that weird 2019 year where like, I don't know, to me it looked like a mess. And then you had 2020, which is a COVID year. And then going into 2021, it looks like that's behind us. We're moving on. Dylan's like, hey, they brought back affiliate teams. He's like, do you want to do this? And I was like, sure. So we did it, and we ended up finishing 3rd at our semifinal and made it to the games, and that was pretty fun. We did it again last year, and we still made it there. And then all of a sudden, they changed the rules this year. They're like, hey, the last 2 years and previous to that, 2018 and prior, you had to go to the same gym to compete under that affiliate name. Where now this year, they're like, yeah, F it, it doesn't matter. You know, all you have to do is, I think you just had to do the Open and quarterfinals there. So it's like 2 or 3 flights to the gym and you're fine. Like that's the level of commitment that is now required. And I think they made that change because they had so many teams report other teams in the last couple of years, or like, hey, I think that team's not following the rules, and then CrossFit would have to do their due diligence and investigate them. So
they investigated us.
Yeah, see what I mean?
And
I know
the turnover.
But they only did that because someone reported you, right?
Had to have been. But it was, we were doing everything we were supposed to. We were following all the rules, which we were supposed to, and we were documenting everything that we were supposed to, which they do lay out your expectations in the rule book at the start of the year. So we read the rule book like you should, and we were like, okay, let's make sure we're doing everything we're supposed to so that we can perform the way we were supposed to. But it's still a hassle because it was coming right back from Atlas, where it was not even 24 hours post semifinals and qualifying for the games. They're like, prove it. And you're like, all right, this is cool. I got to enjoy this for not even 24 hours. And now the stress, because you see, it was Victor Lung, I don't want to mess up his name. He was one of the European teams, and he got nixed.
Yeah.
Despite having the same stuff that we had and all the proof in the world, and them that being like, we don't care. But I understand why they aren't going that hardcore on it, because of all the hassle that they had to deal with. But at the same time, there's better ways.
They had some of these guys and girls like investigating this and spending all this time and probably money and resources investigating this, which isn't even making money, right? This entity itself is not making money, and we're investigating these teams that are coming to play at this entity that's not making money. So I think that's why they're ultimately like, screw this. This is such a waste of time and money. We have two decisions here. We can either double down on the rules, or we can make it the Wild Wild West and make it no rules. And for the teams that took advantage of that rule, I want to make it clear too. I'm not. This is like hating. This is not like hating. I'm hating the game, not the player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Players are utilizing the rules to their advantage.
Yeah, which is what it is. But like,
it's competitive.
So I think last year you had to be on site by like January 13th at your affiliate, at where you're going to compete, and all you had to do was train like 51% of the time there. So if like you were like, oh, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to move to Europe and train, like, okay, you can stay there for 3 weeks, you can come home for 2 weeks, go back for 3 weeks, and it's like basically time for semifinals. You know what I mean? Like, but you still have to be present the majority of the time there. I think what they should have done is they should have just kept the exact same rules, but bumped the time that you have to be on site up earlier. Like the games in the beginning of August. I say by like September, sometime in September, you have to be on site where you're going to be for the next year. And people might be like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Well, too bad. Then you don't get to be on the team that year. You know what I mean? For a team,
if you want to move, like genuinely move indefinitely, by all means do it, because you're moving there for
you moved here, not for that, not for this, but
I live here now.
Right. Yeah, you work here, and like, and you didn't come here because we recruited you to be on a team. If you didn't show up, Dylan was still sitting this year out. He still was in medic school. It didn't matter. There wasn't going to be a team. You know what I mean? Garrett is in the police academy, so like a lot of the guys that are super competitive guys are pursuing other things this year. So I think what you should have done, because athletes that in the last couple of years, like, okay, I just got to be there by January 13th and I can roll there for that year. I think like, hey, you got to be there by, let's just say September 1st. Like now you really have to think about it. Now you got to go somewhere. Like you can fake it like some teams did the last couple of years for like a few months. But like, can you really fake it for like 9 months?
Long time.
Can you really pretend that you're there throughout the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like? And I think that all they had to do was change the date, keep everything else the same. And I think teams that were thinking about it, skirting the rules, or like not actually being there, would be like, damn, like, bro, I got to move there in like a month. Like, that's not possible. You know what I mean? So I don't think I could do it this year.
Yeah.
And I think that would have solved the problem. Instead, they're just like, nah, man. And, CrossFit's like, hey, we really care about the affiliates, which they do. But CrossFit Games is like, yeah, but when it comes to the games, we don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you care about the affiliates and you're supporting what can come from the affiliates, and what ultimately, like, being a successful competitive affiliate can bring more people to the affiliate, just by the nature of the culture. So if you're trying to support them, but at the same time don't care about them in other regards that could inevitably benefit the affiliate itself and its productivity, it's the size of the people, the number of people that go there, those two are kind of contradicting.
Yeah, and like, how does that work too? So like, so we obviously didn't make it this year. Like we had a real affiliate team, and we did not qualify in a stacked super team semifinal, right?
Which to that too, as much as they did they can always do it post the power ranking. So yeah, maybe they're like, well, we don't really feel comfortable pre-ranking the teams.
You're talking about sending everybody to their respective semifinals and then wait till it's over to see who qualifies based on a worldwide ranking?
Yeah. And you can still have it be, top 3 are getting whatever the prize money or benefits of winning your region is, but then ultimately the point of the games is to establish who the fittest is. Last year, my team was established very low because we got 4th at Atlas. We finished 14th. So that just goes to show the strength of like the Atlas teams as a whole. I would argue that was the strongest field. Despite that, because your 4th place at one of the 8 places got 14th overall. So you can power rank it based on the ultimate performances and then inevitably send the best teams. Yes,
even with
first
that-
has got to find its way out no matter what.
Right.
But
even with that being said, so like the first regional, even though it was like, if you look at it like the worldwide rankings, like the North America East semifinal had the most stacked teams there. Like, and that happens with any sports. Like, I know I'm a football fan. Like, look at the Bucks this last year, 8-9, but they still made the playoffs. Like, they did not deserve to make the playoffs over other teams that had winning records and stuff. But so that's how it goes sometimes in sports. Like,
Pats fan, we didn't make it one year and we were like 10-6.
yeah, like that happens sometimes. Yeah. So like that is what it is. But the NFL like doesn't really have a solution to that necessarily. Like CrossFit probably could make a solution to that, you know? Because if you look at it, what Mike Halpin or Brian Friend, one of those guys made that worldwide ranking sheet. And if you look at it, like we're 29th worldwide. So CrossFit's like, yeah, we're sitting in the top 38 teams in the road to the games. No, you're not. You know? And Eighth Day, who finished 11th at our regional, tied for 10th. Like the only missed it out. Like the tiebreaker could have been 10th or 11th. They're in 24th. So they're 24th worldwide. So they're the 24th best team, despite being in the most the strongest field. And being in the first regional that had the disadvantage of not knowing all the standards and the flow, so then we couldn't actually train the workouts properly, where everyone else could just watch the live stream and then adjust their training accordingly. Like,
and even still, like,
and those teams,
40 teams, well, have 2 that you can at least add to the power rank.
Yeah,
you can go through the power rank and be like,
all the lanes are set up with 10. Why would you not have 40? That's just odd to me too. So that's another thing too, is basically like, I actually told them on the floor, I was like, hey, don't get bummed out. Like last year, like we made it in on a late invite after failed drug tests. That's another thing too. The rate of failed drug tests last year, really the last couple years, on the team side has been crazy, right? Like we were at MAC and we finished 7th and we still got in because 2 teams failed a drug test. And for everyone that's listening or watching, they only test 1 male and 1 female after the competition. So they're only testing 50% of the field. And if you have that rate of failure at only testing 50% of the subjects, like why not just test everybody and just make this as clean as possible?
I guarantee, I know I would let, like, I don't know if you can say, how much was it for registration?
I don't know. Was it like $600? I think.
So I guarantee every team would be like, hey, an extra $200 because we're testing everyone. People would be like,
okay,
down.
All right, let's just say that it's a money thing. Like, we can only afford to test 2 people. Okay, so there's 10 teams that qualified, 40 individuals, and 20 of them got tested. If it's a money thing, double our registration from 600 to 1,200 or 1,500. I don't care. We're still going to show up.
Yeah.
And so will every other team, right? And I think the athletes themselves would rather have it clean.
And if there is full disclosure of why the increase happens, instead of just saying, hey, it costs more. Why does it cost more?
Right.
Well, because it's going to cost per athlete this much per.
Why not test?
And we're making sure that this is going to be a clean sport.
And dude, and they have the volunteers and the drug testing. They take it so seriously, which they should. But like as soon as you finish, so like you can't touch that person. You can't give them a hug. What do you think they're gonna do? Hand me a vial full of fake urine, then I'm gonna slide in my compressions and squeeze it out here in an hour. Like, but meanwhile, these other 2 people aren't getting tested at all. Yeah. You know, and they say it's like random. You have to bring your license, and then they
pulled 2 out at random.
And so this year what they did, because last year they tested 6th and 7th place, so we were already tested when we went.
I like that they tested top 20, and only 10 are going. So all 20 the top 20 teams all got tested. Half of the people on the team.
No, the top.
There's 20.
Top 14.
They didn't take the.
No, because 11, 12, 13, 14, because we were 13, got pulled. We got tested. 4 extra teams.
I thought it was top 20.
No, because that was another thing too. Is so they kept 11th place, which is Eighth Day. Let's see here. So they kept Eighth Day, Resurrection, Westchase, and Stad CrossFit. Mm-hmm. The 4 of us got pulled aside to get tested. Kim and I got tested. So you and Tammy got to leave, as you know. But the other thing too is we had to wait until all the top 10 qualifying teams got tested, and then they tested. They're like, oh well, you guys kind of sucked. You just missed it, so you'll wait till all these guys are done. We had to sit there for like 45 minutes before we could enter the testing thing and watch the last event, go through the whole like spiel, let all do the podium, let them all take pictures. Why not take 11, 12, 13, 14 right away and test us so we can leave, instead of adding insult to injury and making us the last ones that got tested? Like, Like, dude, we were there for 2 hours after the event ended. Like, I finally got out, and like, you know, the arena's empty. My family's like out in the lobby, like waiting for us. Like the kids are running around everywhere. Like everyone's tired and hungry, and just wants to leave. And they're like, "No, screw you." You know what I mean? Which is fine. I think you should test those teams, but just do it really quick so they can get in and get out. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't understand that. I don't understand why you just don't test everybody either at the rate of fails. And I think it's unlikely that we'll get a late invite this year because we would need 3 teams to fail. So we need 3 out of the 20 people that were tested to pop. I mean, who knows? Crazy things happen, but yeah. Anyways,
but as a whole, like I definitely enjoyed the events were fun, despite the little hiccups here and there. I felt like they were relatively good tests of fitness, without being anything too one-sided. Like the strength was a strength and it was a pure strength, which was fine. It felt repetitive. I know you liked cleans. I personally would have preferred snatches, but considering we did basically the same event as a part 2 in this quarterfinals, felt a little repetitive, but at the same time, it did yield a fun and exciting event for the fans, which is always a nice balance to be able to both test fitness and have something that people are cheering on. Like on the individual side, that snatch run workout was awesome to watch. Everyone loved watching it because you had both the speed, you had people running real fast, and you had people lifting some heavy weights.
Right. No, for sure. Like overall, it's a professional setup. They do a good job. Like the coordinators and the volunteer team and everything, like they really do care. You know what I mean? And so not knocking that. Like they do a good job. They make sure that you have time to ask questions. They do a good briefing. Like they do a good job. I don't want it to sound like we're just bashing them. I think it's just more like, hey, these are some things that we noticed, and hey, these are some things I think that.
And again, it seems easy to us to be like, why can't you just do that? And like, obviously, a solution always seems easier from the outside looking in.
And two, so like it also poses the question moving forward before we wrap up. Like, so if Westchase wants to continue and continue to put a competitive team in, like, do we quote unquote have to now sell out and like start messaging people that we think would be interested in going team and start recruiting and bringing in a couple ringers? Like, is that what we have to do now because the landscape of the sport is now demanding it? I don't know. I guess you have to wait and see like what the rule book comes out next year because the rules seem to change so often. Yeah. You know, but either way, I had fun. Our community really supports us. They rally around it. Being in Orlando, there was a ton of people that drove over to watch.
Yeah, it was cool.
I still enjoyed it. Even knowing we didn't make it, I would still do it again. But yeah, man, you know, that's how sports goes. Doesn't always end up how you want, but
it was a good season nonetheless. And like you said, it was cool because for us last year, we were going from the Northeast up to Canada. We had like 2 people show up, and it was family members of teammates, which having like a squad of people to support was cool.
Still doing weird COVID stuff too, right?
Yeah, that was dumb.
Are they still doing that?
I think so.
All right. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Devin O'Neill, Aaron Hanna, that's our thoughts on this past semifinal and season. So catch you later.